Let's hear a story about Canada and why you should vote for the Maverick Party in the next election. I remember sitting back in Political Science 101, and the professor was asking the class what the first objective is for every political party in Canada. The students all began to give their answers. One of them said healthcare, another one said national defense, and the final student guessed lowering taxes. And those are all great guesses, but the professor said all of them were wrong. The first goal of every party in Canada is to get elected and to form a majority in the House of Commons. It's simple. If you don't form government, you can't make any changes. Now, let's go for something a little bit easier, class. What's the second goal of every political party in Canada? Once again, the students began to give those same answers you hear all the time: healthcare, national defense, lowering taxes, but they were all wrong yet again. Then the professor explained something very interesting. He said, the second goal of every party is to get reelected. If you lose power, all the changes you just made were wasted, and you're going to be unable to govern in the future. So in a democracy, every political party tries to form government, and then tries to stay in power. All of their policies are affected by those first two goals. This was really interesting for me because I hadn't thought about things like that before. The two most important things to every political party in Canada wasn't even about their policies. It was all about grasping power. Not only that, but all of their policies were then related to getting and keeping that power. Love it or hate it, this is the system we find ourselves in today. But let's talk vaguely for a moment about how government is actually created in Canada. There are 338 potential seats up for grabs in the House of Commons, and 231 of them belong to Eastern Canada. Since it only takes 170 to form a majority government, they have that and then some. In other words, if you're not from Eastern Canada, you don't matter. Now, with what we talked about earlier with the two first goals of every political party, it's logical to see that every policy decision then revolves around the East being happy. If your only goal is to make up majority government, the reality is that the only focus you need to have is in the East. So, it should be to no surprise that all the jobs, all the wealth, all the government programs are focused towards Easterners. And Westerners are reminded of this every day. When you see a corporation like Suncor or Husky lay off 2,000 workers due to plummeting revenues, that's exactly what's going on here. This is why manufacturing jobs back east are so protected at any cost. This is why the Tech Mine was cancelled and why the CERB was so readily rolled out. This is why Keystone XL's pipeline can be shut down without even a whimper of resistance from the east. Those projects I just mentioned were viewed as impartial by Easterners, and so it didn't matter to Eastern Canada if they got cancelled or if they went through, which meant it didn't matter to all of Canada if they got cancelled or they went through. If you can't see how this is a problem, you probably don't live in the West. Our businesses have to compete harder with unfair regulations and stipulations that were designed by a politician that doesn't even live here. Our jobs are either restructured, back east, or shut down completely, maybe even outsourced to other nations. Even Greyhound, a wonderful Canadian company, shut down busing operations, stating there was no profitable bus route left in Western Canada. Okay, so all this is pretty terrible and a little bit terrifying. So, what's the solution? That's where the Maverick Party comes into play. Remember those two goals about getting into power and preserving power? The Maverick Party doesn't have either of those because they're not planning on running in every constituency in Canada. In other words, the Maverick Party isn't even trying to form government. So that might bring us to the question of, well, what exactly then is the Maverick Party trying to do? The logical question is, why would you even try to participate in politics if you're not trying to form government? Well, there is one other party that has done this for the past 29 years and somehow been at the center of every political decision made in Canada. They always seem to be getting deals that are just way better than they deserve, and when they don't, they just shut down any other project that's in their way. I'm speaking of the Bloc Québécois. Typically, they're the most hated party in the rest of Canada because they've been able to give Quebec so much more than they even deserve. The Bloc Québécois don't share those first two goals that we talked about earlier. Their first goal is to give Quebec the best deal possible. Their second goal is to leverage every other deal that's on the table in order to get Quebec the best deal possible. Their first two goals are directly related to representing their constituents. So, if the history of Canada teaches us anything at all, it's that when a party represents their constituents directly and what they care about, that region is going to do better on the federal stage. Jay Hill, the leader of the Maverick Party, has proposed that we follow suit with the Bloc Québécois. We should care more about the constituents and what's best for them instead of just the quest to get power. Because the Maverick Party can't form a majority government, representing their constituents is their first goal. Jay Hill has proposed that we take a page out of the Bloc Québécois book and form a Western Bloc. So, if you're interested in the West actually having a say in what happens in the West, then please head over to maverickparty.ca and sign up for a membership. They're as low as $10, and they're going to bring equity back to the West. You can also check out the mission statement and see what's going on near you as far as electoral district associations, or EDAs. Since this is a brand new party, you have a chance at making history. This script has been developed by me, Dave Robinson.